When it comes to baseball, and this goes for any sport, but especially baseball the most, you cannot take a single thing for granted or something for guaranteed. Ever. Doesn't matter who it is, where it is, what it is, why it is, or how it is. At any moment, any player can come crashing down to earth and fall off due to any reason. Could be because they chose to be a criminal. I don't know. But typically it's injuries or just sudden regression. Or it could happen the exact opposite way. A player you wouldn't ever have expected to go off goes off. And I've been thinking lately a whole lot about baseball, like I do every day, like I've been doing every day for years on end now. And yet through all this time, there was a player I realized I hadn't thought about in years. And the only reason I started thinking about him was because I was reminded about him when Astros general manager Dana Brown just came out and said Lance McCullers Jr. won't be ready for opening day for the Astros. I immediately had some thoughts, so I went on the good old baseball reference page and realized my thoughts were more than valid, and at this point it cannot be a hot take at all to say that Lance McCullers Jr. has become one of the biggest disappointments in baseball history. Really quick as always, if you're part of the 53% of viewers not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button if you enjoy the videos, as when I was reminded of that name, Lance McCullers Jr., after Dana Brown said he wouldn't be ready for opening day, my first thought was, has this guy pitched since 2017? And I'm half joking when I say this. I remember Lance McCullers being a pretty hyped up pitching name for Houston. He was a first rounder, not nearly the first pick of the draft. He wasn't picked all the way until pick number 41 overall, but still, he was the Astros' second name to draft in 2012. The Astros were so bad during that time, they got 2 first-round picks that year. Carlos Correa was number 1 overall. But this wasn't just any Astros draft in 2012. It was the first draft run by Jeff Luhnow, the new general manager who eventually got thrown onto the bus and fired after the cheating scandal broke out. But 2012 was the start of building what would eventually grow as a golden era for baseball in Houston. And Lance McCullers Jr. was the Astros' second pick and 41st overall pick, and it was out of high school. I mean, Lance was throwing over 100 miles an hour in high school, so he said to hell with college and went the professional route, and there was of course a lot to be pumped about. Skip ahead to 2015, and this is weird. He started the year in AA, got promoted to AAA, only to literally do that Grandpa Simpson meme in real life. The literal next day after going up to AAA, he was told he was heading to the majors, and so he did, making his debut a few days later, and 2015 ended up overall being a really good rookie year for Lance. He was good. The Astros were good, Correa also was a rookie, the team made the postseason, and all was looking good. But 2016 was the start of what we now realize is the norm, an extreme norm. He began 2016 on the injured list because of shoulder soreness, came back in May, pitched until the beginning of August, and then missed the rest of the year. 2017 ended up, of course, being the championship year, the cheating year, but Lance was great, at least to start he was. At one point had a scoreless inning streak of 22, winning pitcher of the month in May. Things were awesome until he had to go back on the injured list for a little bit with a back injury, returning in late June, and forget not being the same. He just wasn't good coming back from the injury. He pitched every month except August, the rest of the season, but did so with an ERA over 7. Now, to be fair, if you look at some of the more advanced stats, the ones that don't focus on results as much as they focus on the underlying stuff, it would suggest McCullers was getting extremely unlucky, and that kind of showed with how he was able to put together a nice postseason run, that he was better than what he showed coming back from the injury. He was really good, looking back like he did early on that year, and there was a wild thing that happened where in Game 7 against the Yankees in the ALCS, Lance pitched 4 scoreless innings in relief and earned his first career save to clinch the pennant, but that's not the crazy part. It's the fact that he finished that outing off with 24 consecutive curveballs to retire the last 6 Yankees in a row. Bro said to hell with any other pitch. He also started Game 7 at Dodger Stadium before Charlie Morton came in to seal the deal. Then comes 2018. McCullers starts the season completely healthy, no issues, until August when his elbow started to bark. He'd come back to end the year in a bullpen role and throw a curveball almost 50% of the time, but it wasn't enough to save his arm from the inevitable boogeyman from any pitcher, Tommy John. Getting the surgery that offseason, missing all of 2019, coming back to pitch in the pandemic year was pretty good. And then 2021 was McCullers' first truly full season of his entire career at that point. Leading into that season, the most innings McCullers had thrown in a season were around 125, and he'd done that like 3 times. But obviously all injury-plagued situations. So when McCullers made 28 starts and threw over 165 innings in 2021 with a 3.16 ERA, You're thinking, okay, now we go. This is the Lance McCullers Jr. we've really been waiting for, and it only made the Astros look smarter for putting their faith in him before the season even began with a 5-year, $85 million contract extension. Now, it wasn't perfect. His number one problem was the walks. He had more than anyone in baseball that year, but he also struck out more hitters than he ever had, won more games than he ever had. There were lots of career highs for him, which help when you finally have a full season. But yeah, it was awesome until he was taken out of Game 4 in Chicago of the playoffs due to a right forearm strain, not being able to pitch again that entire postseason run. Not that he would have been able to stop the Braves' power of friendship, but still, that blew. And what blew even more was how severe his injury was, because he didn't pitch again until August of 2022. He missed the first 4.5 months, but when he did come back, he was great. A 2.27 ERA in over 47 innings and 8 starts. And that dominance continued in October when he got the start in that historic Game 3 in Seattle that went so long. An entire presidential term began and ended in the process of it. I mean, empires were rising and falling, only for the final score to be 1-0. Mariners fans cannot have nice things. Why? I don't know, but they can't. McCullers was having nice things until he wasn't, struggling against the Yankees in the ALCS, which ended up not mattering, but it was Game 3 of the World Series where everything changed. With the series in Philly, McCullers got rocked, becoming the first pitcher in postseason history to allow 5 home runs in a game. Now, it became pretty clear he was tipping his pitches. The Phillies were on him like crazy, but regardless, he gave up 5 home runs, and, well, he was broken that night, and I don't mean just that one night. Lance McCullers Jr. has yet to throw a single pitch for the Astros since that night. It's just been constant setback after setback. He developed a muscle strain in his right arm in spring training the next year, then got season-ending surgery to repair the flexor tendon in his pitching arm and remove a bone spur, got shut down while rehabbing last year in July of 2024, has remained that way, and now we're back to the first thing I said about him in this video, that he's already being shut down for the beginning of this season in 2025. So my question is, if this guy's pitch since 2017 was obviously a joke, kinda, and now you understand why, kinda. It's easy to forget about much of what he's done since that year, even though he's had some stretches of success, because when you have 3 entirely lost seasons since 2017 and only 1 full year, part of me genuinely was thinking, wait, when has Lance McCullers last pitched? It's been 2 full lost seasons in a row. It's nuts, and it just shows how much his body hates him. McCullers obviously has all the potential in the world to be great. He can spin the ball extremely well. There's a reason he's relied on that curveball so many times, and he's shown success, so I can only imagine how frustrating it is to have your body say, go to hell, loser. Damn. It's obviously not his fault. There's not much you can do. His body is just, I guess, very sensitive to pitching more than others. Every pitcher is bound to have issues, but with McCullers, it obviously goes to a whole extra level that he can't quite figure out. It's good to see he at least got 1 contract in his career, the $85 million one for 5 years. That's not good for Houston to be paying him all that to not do that much, but good for him. It's not as if we should feel terrible for him on a personal level. He's doing just fine. He made a combined over $32 million to not pitch the last 2 years. And even when he's back on the open market in a couple of years when his contract ends, if not Houston, someone will dish up millions to bring him aboard for a short-term contract, because the reward is still too good to give up on. I mean, Scott Boras is his agent, so he'll try to get Lance a 7-year, $400 million deal. So that part will be annoying, but still, teams will want him if Houston doesn't keep him around forever. It's awful to think Lance simply returning this year at all will be an accomplishment, but I mean, what else can you say when he's missed 2 straight seasons? Hopefully he can finally return and provide some sort of impact and get things back on track. Obviously not the ideal career though, at least to this point, as he's now 31 years old with 1 healthy year to show for it, and even in that 1 healthy year in 2021, that led to him missing most of the next year and then being completely inactive since. Lance McCullers just isn't someone I've thought about in years, genuinely, and I'm willing to bet that's most of you watching this video, and that this video is the first you've heard of him in years. Someone once so hyped up and at times dominating for a juggernaut Houston Astros team really just ceased to exist as far as his career goes, and at least to start, 2025 isn't looking to be any different than his non-existent 2023 and 2024 seasons. Let's hope things do change, but going by Lance McCullers' track record over his 10 years as an Astro, and especially last 3 years, you might as well train yourself to live underwater if you plan to hold your breath on a crazy comeback. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.